IO, or IO Chicago, is a theater and training center located at 1501 N. Kingsbury in Chicago, Illinois. The theater both teaches and hosts performances of improvisational comedy. It was founded in 1981 by the late Del Close and Chana Halpern. IO concentrates on long-form, improvisational structures, in contrast to the short-form, or improv game format of theater sports, comedy sports, or the television show Whose Line Is It Anyway? The IO's signature piece is the Harold, and the theater features other forms of improvisation, as well as sketch comedy and stand-up comedy. In addition to 5 performance spaces, the building also has multiple classrooms for use by the theater's training center, as well as a large private event space available to rent for various functions. There is a large full bar located on the first floor, a smaller one located upstairs, with food available from the kitchen downstairs. The building has 4 performance spaces. The Del Close Theater, this is the second largest of IO's theaters, and is located on the ground floor of the building. It hosts some of IO's premier shows such as the Armando Diaz Theatrical Experience and Hootenanny, World News Tonight, the Improvised Shakespeare Company, and the Deltones. The Chris Farley Cabaret, one of 2 cabaret-style theaters in the building. This theater hosts many different types of performances, mostly improvised and mostly non-Harold. The Jason Chin Harold Cabaret, named after a revered teacher at IO who died on January 8, 2015. This theater predominantly features performances of the Harold from house teams at the theater that specialize in that form. The Mission Theater, this theater is adjacent to the main IO complex, but is separately run and managed by T.J. Jagodowski and David Pascasi, or TJ and Dave. There are performances both upstairs and downstairs every night of the week, with the exception of some holidays. Shows can consist of either a Harold or IF show. Shows can be special limited runs of a particular group piece, or they can be open runs of long-standing formats using regular performers at the theater. A typical Harold performance consists of 2 or 3 groups doing a Harold. Newer teams usually open the night and more veteran teams give the final performance. On some nights, usually in the downstairs theater, they will play the short-form game, The Dream, using an audience volunteer after the second Harold of the night, and then play the short-form game, Freeze, after the final Harold. A show slot typically, but not always, has a Harold team open for them, usually one of the newer teams. There are approximately 35 Harold teams at IO at this time. The exact number fluctuates up and down when old teams are cut from the roster and new teams are created. New teams in the past have come from the final performance level class, from opened auditions, and from recombining performers taken from cut teams. The oldest Harold team has been together for more than 5 years. Several have been around for 3+ years. And there are many that are less than 6 months old. IO has one other active franchise, IO West, located in Los Angeles, California. A former franchise, IO South, was located in Raleigh, North Carolina. History: 1981 the Improv Olympic was created, putting competing teams of comedic improvisers on stage in front of audiences. It was the brainchild of David Shepard, who used early Viola Spolin theater games as a way for teams to compete. The first Improv Olympic classes and shows took place at the Players Workshop in Chicago, where Chana Halpern was an improv student. Chana Halpern became David Shepard's assistant, and eventually the producer of the competitions. 1982 the Improv Olympic moved from the Players Workshop to its own space. Teams began to form out of every major improv troupe in Chicago. 1983 shows began shifting to a long-form approach. 1995 the Improv Olympic moves to its location on Clark Street, in Chicago. 1997 Paul Valancourt opened a companion theater, IO West, in Los Angeles, California. Today it is managed by James Grace. 2001, the International Olympic Committee threatened the theatre legally over its use of the name Improv Olympic, and the name was subsequently changed to I.O. 2005, I.O. holds its 25th anniversary show at the Chicago Theatre in downtown Chicago. The wireless microphones go dead shortly into the show, but the improvisers rally and play using wired mics for the rest of the performance. Celebrity veterans of the I.O. program who return to play include Mike Myers, Tim Meadows, Amy Poehler, Ike Barinholtz, and many more. The opening to the Harold piece performed is conducted by the most veteran I.O. house team, The Reckoning. 2006, I.O. begins a joint venture with Comedy Works of Raleigh, NC to create the third I.O. training center, named I.O. South. 2014, after almost 20 years in Chicago's Wrigleyville neighborhood, Chana Halpern bought a building in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood and moved the I.O. Theater to its new home at 1501 N. Kingsbury Street. Notable alumni. This includes alumni from either I.O. West or I.O. Chicago.